Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals that take us higher. The night's young and it's just begun as she puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, every shot from the top. We're gonna be two hearts running wild. In the morning, as the afternoon, we lay awake in bed. The lights so loud as the hours pass. We're gonna do it all again. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, never shut from the top. We're gonna be, we're gonna be two hearts running wild.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone who's poking in to say hello. This is just a random pop-up live, partially because shame on me, I was not doing my live yesterday. Basically, yesterday morning I felt pretty wrecked. I needed some sleep, so I decided to sleep in. And my Wednesday mornings aren't always the most visited. I do know we have people that happily does come on, but fact is just I think like 80% of my viewers are from the US, and my mornings are in the middle of your night. But yeah, hello and good afternoon. It is right now 14:17, so that is 2:17 p.m. Central European Time here in the Netherlands. And as the thumbnail showed for this live, I am going to continue working on my, I would say firefly sweater, but it isn't. My Thoughts of Ireland shawl, which is the one I'm making in 100% alpaca. And that's the one we have here. I do not have a lot of yarn left. I am about to change yarn. And you have noticed I am wearing a crochet piece today. That is the In-Lines Poncho Alpaca. I did a link to the pattern in the description box down below. It is a paid pattern, which you can get by hobby. The design is by Tentatrød, which is a Danish designer, or Crochet by TT. So yeah, do not forget to give this a video or this live, regardless if you're watching right now or rewatching later, a little thumbs up. That would really support me. I would definitely very much appreciate it. It has become autumn here. Definitely. All yesterday was just raining. Today is sometimes sunny, sometimes windy, and grey. Not raining as they predicted earlier this week, which is, I guess, kind of nice because I feel all wet already. So yeah, the next part I am gonna do is basically I'm gonna do another row of this, and then I hope we can spend some time together and crochet together and see where it gets us. Um, no real big plans. I'm gonna be here for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. I'll see how long we will get. I am using a D hook, so that is a 3.25 millimeter crochet hook for this. Slightly bit difficult to see. Maybe I need to do like this for the webcam to focus. There we go. I have the pattern up on the back screen. It is a free pattern by Drops Design. Drops does free patterns for their designs, which is really nice. And I do believe I also linked to that pattern in the description box down below for those that's interested. Yes, I did. I was just checking that I had actually also done it. You know, sometimes it's easy to think that you did something and you didn't exactly do it. The next row I am going to work on here is it's a sort of a fan row of double crochets. And with these double crochets, it's quite important that you work in the right loop, in the sense of you either work in the front loop or in the back loop. And it's a little bit oddly described in the pattern, because for the double crochets, the pattern says from the right side, one double crochet in the back loop stitch, from the wrong side, one double crochet in the front loop stitch. So yeah, right, wrong, like, yeah, what's right and what's wrong. So basically, my conclusion is that the rows, like if I do back loops in the uneven rows, I need to keep making back loops in the uneven rows, and if I do front loops, I need to keep doing them the even rows. That's kind of what I figured out, and if that's true or not, I guess we will see. I'm not going to cry. I do so far like how it's working up actually, so that's on its own pretty nice. I start by making a chain so I can actually flip this work around, and then in the past row I did front loops, so I have to do back loops here. And then what's interesting is, of course, what I need to catch up on is I need to skip a stitch, and then I need to do the back loop, and then there are 2 stitches in between each by the look. Yeah, 2 stitches. So what I am doing is I chain 3 to make up for the height and anything else. Then I will skip the first stitch and the next stitch in the back loop, because I worked previous round in the front loops. I will make a double crochet. Then I have to chain 2 and make a double crochet in the same loop. So chain 2 and a new double crochet in that same loop, which kind of creates this fan. Then I need to make a new double crochet, but I first need to skip 2 stitches, back loop in the third stitch, so to say. Chain 2 and a new double crochet into that stitch. So if I do a few of these, I will show you guys how it is looking. I'm just going to make a few just to kind of get going, and it's a little bit easier to show when I've made a few how that is working up. And Helle points out that right and wrong is basically what's right and wrong side of the shawl. But yeah, that's kind of what I figured out with the alternating rows, so to say. It's just, you know, it's just the way it's been translated to English is a really poor translation. I think that's basically what it comes down to, because if you translate it really direct into, I do believe drops is Norwegian, and if you translate it very directly into Norwegian or into Danish, that is basically how that will turn out. But that's definitely not how it should be in correct, proper English. At least that's not my impression of it. But so far it's working up nicely, and I think I caught it right on of correct the way of doing it. It's more just the way they describe it is not logic. But you know, it's not the first time we have a drops pattern where we are grabbing and itching our heads, being like, what's the intention here? So this row, I do believe I have no increases. Nope, there is no increases in this row, so it's very easy. I just basically have to do it. Though one would say that they actually do increase slowly, because if I only have, I do increase like by one every stitch for those fans ish, because I skip two, but those two I incorporate in the fan. So actually I do increase some stitches. That's okay, that's natural, I guess. The natural progress of the pattern. So I am going to insert my stitch marker and I will show you guys where we are at. I do see we have a few sneak peekers. We have a few watching, so feel free to say hello if you want to. I would be more than happy to say hello to you. And this is the row I am working on. I think it's a bit difficult to actually decently show if this sweet webcam would cooperate. Yeah. That is what I'm adding. It's almost easier to see on the backside though. And it is small. It's small. It's a thin yarn. It's small stitches. Once I'm done with this row, we'll have like lots of stitches. It's like 348, so it's like 300, yeah, 350 stitches, probably a bit more once I'm done. Right now on the row. So it will be a bit before I'm going through this row, and we will have to see where we are at. I realized I did forgot to say one thing, because hey, I do drink tea. And we didn't talk about my tea today. I do have an afternoon tea here with me. My favorite mug of tea. And the tea today is called Chinese Spring. Chinese Spring is an Earl Grey, but there has been added some, well, it's a type of Earl Grey because it's a black tea with bergamot oil, which is basically an Earl Grey. And then they had add some dried rose leaves. So that is kind of what makes, I guess, it's called spring. So Chinese Spring. Very nice, very nice. Soothing. And maybe it's a little bit, I'm dreaming of the spring. So yeah, definitely done some things. Been sitting down, been thinking a little about the future. Oh, I do not need to chain there. I need to make another crochet, just a moment. Been thinking about my future, because we have talked a few times about maybe turning my crocheting into a small handmade business. Because I could do so. Lots of you have told me that my work is so nice that I should really sell it, so maybe I should. And the thing is, in the period, meanwhile, I have been so lucky, or should I say unlucky, that I've actually lost my job. Right now I am on vacation, so technically I still have a job, but that's only until the end of the month. Then I am officially unemployed, and then I will have to go look for a new job. I do have rights on unemployment payments, and I have the rights to get those for 3 months. This right depends on the length of the right, depends on how long you have been working with your employer, and how many hours you have been working, and things like that. And I have the rights of 3 months, basically. And once those are gone, I have zero income. Also, because there are more things that can cover you income wise, but if you do not have a job, then I could go to the municipality and I could ask for extra aid, but then I'm not able to do so because my partner basically earns too much, so I would not be able to get like the next level. So I will either have to find a job that I like, or I will have to find another way of making money before then. That said, setting up a business well, I already have one, but adding more to that business that I have, then the unemployment agency will see this as time spent on the business, which is more time that I would have normally under normal circumstances, which technically isn't true, but that's another story. And therefore, they will see you as unavailable for the working market. And therefore, the hours you then spend, for example, in making content like going live, etc., they will cut off and pay me less. And given that it's only a period of 3 months, I think it's financially better to postpone that bit and just see how it goes. At least officially seen. And just basically wait, because it could be I find a job or a part-time job or whatever, but ideally, of course. So the unemployment fees we get and the rights I have for these 3 months, they are covered through our taxes. And I paid my tax to get it, so why wouldn't I claim it if possible? And also, I do want to make sure the job I get, if I do find a job, is a job that I want to do. I don't want to be in a job where I will be frustrated about the actual job work and then quit. Because if I quit a job myself, I have zero rights on unemployment pay, which is making or leaving me worse off than I'm currently is. So in that sense, I'm not in a rush, if that makes sense. These are definitely a thin yarn to work in, but we are progressing. Progressing ever so nicely with this lovely green one. So I have been thinking, and I've mentioned that a few times too, I want to actually see if I can get some sort of an overhead to record from up high. Like they can record my actual crocheting motions. And then you just have a little small face cam. Like I can change on how the structure is via the program I use to stream, so that you like up here, for example, just gets my face. It could also be up there, and then you'll just see my actual hands. I don't know if people will have interest in that for the times I do go live. That could be. I also have a small yarn haul video coming up on the channel on Monday. A little small hobby yarn haul. And some of it was what I expected, and some of it wasn't completely what I had expected. So, hello, Steph. Welcome. And should I say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you? For me, it is afternoon. It is 2:33 p.m. here in the Netherlands right now. And meanwhile, I'm just going to skip to double crochet, chain 2, double crochet in that double crochet stitch, so to say. Skip 2 stitches, double crochet. So this is a simple row, like it doesn't take much thinking to do. I like that. It's 8:33 a.m. so you are in Eastern US. I do hope that you're not in Florida or anywhere close, because I do know the Hurricane Milton is just passing through. Or did it finish passing through? It's been like just around that time, right? It's horrible. They just had Helena 2 weeks ago, and then now Milton. Jesus. But yeah, it is hurricane season, but still, that's a bit unlucky. 2 storms almost hitting around the same place in Florida. The only difference is the direction they take afterwards. Milton goes further into the Atlantic, where I do believe Helena went up north, like through Georgia and so on. So we need to skip 2, double crochet. So yeah, so far I'm just working a bit on the shawl because I guess I want to finish it up, but I also need to take time to actually work on it. And I thought I should also go live and say hello to you guys. I feel a bit bad for not popping in yesterday, but I just didn't get around it basically. Also had a delivery coming and I didn't know when they would be here and I didn't want to get disturbed in the middle of the live just for a delivery guy who had the yarn. But they also ended up dropping a parcel for the neighbors because apparently the neighbors weren't home. So I tend to be a drop-off station because people know that I work from home or often are home or something like that. And tomorrow, of course, we have my weekly yarn talk video, getting an update on all my projects. So are people just sitting down and relaxing and listening to me babbling, or are you actually working on any projects right now? That would be nice to know. Of course, I'm working on a project. I could just ramble on, but I do actually intend to try to spend my time on something productive. One day I think I want to make a live where we like shop together, help me spend money on yarn. But I think that might first have to be next year. Kind of depends. I have a few. I have a fair bit of yarn to spend first, but I also have a fair bit of things I would love to get. So there is that. Let's see. 1, 2. But I have to say this so far is simple. So it's like a double crochet, in this case in the back loop. And then it's chain 2. And then it's a double crochet in the same back loop we did the first double crochet in. Skip 2 stitches, repeat. So far this is going smooth. Then the next row, I need to pay attention again to my stitch markers because then we are going to insert some extra stitches for increasing. Then it's time to increase again. I think I did something wrong. Just one moment. I did only skip 1 stitch. I caught the wrong. That was why it was looking funny. The good thing is I caught it in time, in good time even, because I had only made the 1 single stitch, so it was only 1 double crochet I had to frog. 1, 2, then this one is what I want. So it's nice when it's only the 1 you need to frog. But yeah, so it's just basically me hanging out with you guys, crocheting a bit, rambling on. I have a bag that I want to design, so I have a back design in mind. And if that goes well, then I need to find out if I'm going to make a tutorial for it. I could. And if I am going to write down a pattern and put up for sale, which is something that definitely could tempt me. Broaden your income streams, they say, the clever people. Oh, we have Great Lakes gal Diane joining in. Good morning, Diane. Lovely to see you. It is my afternoon here. It is 2:39 p.m. Central European Time in the Netherlands, and it is grey outside right now. Sun was shining a bit earlier today, but now it's just grey, a little bit windy, autumn-ish weather. And I am working on my Thoughts of Ireland sweater. And it's a very simple progress right now. So I do a double crochet in the back loop, then I do 2 chains. I do a new double crochet in the back loop, which I just did the previous double crochet in, and then I skipped 2 stitches and I repeat the process. The downside is I have to do it for like 348 stitches. So as you can figure out, I still have a bit to go, a fair bit to go. And I am wearing a poncho that I also made in alpaca, which is a poncho pattern you can get from Hobby. And yep, I made it this spring. And this is actually the first time I'm actually actively wearing it. It's definitely getting time, poncho weather time. Good morning, Sarah. Wonderful to see you. Very wonderful to see you. Lovely. Come and hang out with us and grab your crochet pieces. Of course, unless you have to prepare to go to work, then you are excused. But if you do have time to craft, then sit down and grab your crochet project or knitting needles or whatever, cup of coffee or tea, and hang out. So Sarah tells us that she is working on 193 rows of ripping at the moment. Started the pocket shawl by Hey Carey. 139 rows of ripping. That's a lot of ripping. On the other hand, this kind of looks like ripping, right? Like when you look at this, but it's actually just alternating front post, back post, double crochets. But that's a lot of rows. 139 rows. No, sorry, 93 even worse. 193 rows of ribbing. How many stitches are on your rows? How many stitches? This is because when I'm looking at this, I feel like I still have forever to go. And that's a downside of these shawls. They increase ever so slowly, but they keep increasing, and therefore it takes longer and longer and longer to complete each row, basically. Almost gives me the sweats. But yeah, it's really nice sitting this poncho. I made it. I started on this poncho last Christmas, and I knew I wasn't gonna finish it when it was still kind of relatable to the weather. And now I'm so happy I finished it because I have it. Poncho turned out great. There are 11 stitches each row. So basically, it's 11 stitches multiplied by 193 rows, which is still an awful lot of stitches. It's like 2,000 plus stitches. Quick math. Phew. But yeah, obviously I do have a fair amount here too. There we are. Don't even know if I'm halfway. I don't calculate. That's much. I'm just crocheting away. It's basically the easiest. But yeah, I'm so happy right now. I'm sitting here and it feels rather cozy. And I was thinking if I should take something extra to add to my arms, but actually it covers just enough for me to be comfy. And I can easy when I have or when it gets colder, because the real challenge I have in the autumn is that the temperature decreases quicker than my body adapts. So I'm always cold in the autumn, like instantly freezing. But if I dress up too quickly to accommodate for me freezing, then when it gets really cold, I will either need extra layers or I will freeze. So the challenge for me is to only freeze a little and not a lot. And just slowly adapt the whole collection of clothing to the season. And every year is the same. Um, the first month of autumn, I'm always a bit of a it's too cold, and I'm so cold that I need extra help warming up if I've been outside, and oh, it's awesome and horrible at the same time. Um, awesome, awful, awful. Yeah. But if you ask my in-laws, my mom-in-law would say that I'm a trying to see if I can translate this. In Dutch, it's called koukleum, which is basically someone that easily gets cold. That's me. I do quickly freeze. Um, yeah. So I need more sweaters. The good thing about winter is it is getting sweater time, and I have lots of lovely sweaters in my closets. But I'm trying just to postpone it at least a few weeks before really starting to wear them. They are woolen sweaters, um, either made in merino or in superwash wool. Um, in also in like sock weight wool, so fingering weight. Um, and they are usually really, really warm and really nice. But obviously, if I wear them too early, it's just, I'll get when it's Christmas and it's even cold outside, I'm gonna freeze. So the challenge is to not freeze. So, am I the only one that's having these challenges, adapting my clothing to wear just enough to not freeze, but not too much? Or is it just me being crazy? It's probably just me being crazy. I wouldn't be surprised. Let's get some tea. Don't forget to hydrate. Doesn't seem like Nightbot has found us yet. Nightbot is usually really good at telling us to hydrate and asking if you're having a good time. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. Super happy that you guys are hanging out with me because it's almost like, having this social crochet party together, come along, working on our projects, hanging out. I kind of wish there was like a community here where you could go once a month or once every 2 weeks hanging out together. That would be kind of cool. My challenge is, though, that even though I crochet, I have no clue what half of those terms are that are for the stitches in Dutch. Um, I know some of them in Danish, but I don't even know all of them in Danish. My crochet English terms are superior, which is a bit funny because English is my native language. Danish is my native language. Then I learned English, and then I learned German, and then I learned Dutch. But if I look at how I speak them, I probably speak best Danish, of course, then English, and then Dutch, and then German. I speak Dutch every day in my everyday life because my partner is Dutch, which is the reason I live in the Netherlands and not in Denmark by being Danish native. Um, I think I'm about halfway of this row. So that's nice. About halfway. And then the next row I have to increase. So then I have to have a really good look at the pattern before starting that row to ensure that I don't make mistakes. This yarn it can be frogged, but I'd rather not. Also because every time I frog, I feel I'm wasting time. And in worst case, I do have other projects to work on, but it would be so awesome if I can actually finish a row plus maybe even an extra here while we hang out together. That would be amazing. One, two, and next. So are you in a community, local community, where there's a lot of crafters as well, or are you just like usually just crafting on your own at home, or what are you doing? Like I tend to craft at home or in the car, and sometimes when I'm not at home. Yes, give me a moment. Give me just a moment. Diane is asking me what I'm working on. I'm currently, you might have seen it on the front page, the tab. I'm progressing working on this Thoughts of Ireland shawl. And as you can see, I've passed halfway because I am working from this side to this side. So we are halfway of this row. This row is really simple. I also linked to the pattern in the description box down below. This row is really simple because it's basically a skip 2 stitches, double crochet in the back loop, chain 2, double crochet in the same back loop that the previous double crochet was in, skip 2 stitches, rinse and repeat. So it's not that difficult. It's pretty tiny because it's 3.25mm hook. That's the stitches I'm trying to look into. Yes, Sarah, I did put up a left-handed tutorial for the leafy shawl because I realized that I can do some reasonably simple moderating in my editing program. So I did have to edit those tutorials at new, but it was not as much work as the original editing. And then I could basically kind of mirror them in the parts where it was really important for it to be mirrored for those that's left-handed. Because my impression is that left-handed people, I wouldn't say discriminated because that sounds really rude, but they're kind of kept out because lots of tutorial, because the majority of people in the world is just right-handed, right? Either we are forced right-handed because 40 years ago, if you would be starting left-handed, you would be forced to do it right. But then still the majority of us are right-handed people, though they say left-handed are more creative. So just to help left-handed people a bit easier so they don't have to self-imagine them doing the opposite motions. And I'm gonna do the same for a bunch of stitch tutorials generally, like both a left and a right-handed version. That's the plans for the coming weeks. So yeah, that's gorgeous. It turned out gorgeous, I think. They're really turning out good. So you did start, Sarah, the Darjeeling shawl. I'm really happy with how mine turned out. Actually, I want to make more of them. I think Red Teapot Atelier makes some really gorgeous shawl designs. And I'm sitting with this one, the Thoughts of Ireland right now, and I'm thinking, working on this. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that very soon again. I'd rather do the Darjeeling tea shawl than this one again. I think this one is still turning out nice, but I think the Darjeeling was just, I don't know, somehow more nicer to work on. Sounds odd. I also want to make a new version of the Jasmine tea shawl. sometime, and a few other fur designs. I do have plans, but it does take time to crochet them still. And I do have um I do have the Ultimate Sacrifice that I'm working on, and I want to start a new, and I think it's called the Aranel. We'll have to find it. Just one moment. I was talking about it earlier today. And I want to make, that's also in the alpaca yarn, Aranel, like same yarn as I made this one in, just different colors. I want to make the Aranel shawl, which is by KAME Crochet. That's one full cake. That is what I want to. That would be really nice if I could do that. Can share the pattern to that, but before I start the Aranel shawl, I want to finish either the Ultimate Sacrifice shawl, or I want to finish the Thoughts of Ireland shawl. Because, yeah, the point, not the point, the problem is when I start on a new shawl, I get so hooked into it that I kind of forget everything else. And then I'm afraid this just gets pushed further and further back, and then I'll never finish it. And I still have a few other drops projects that I really want to make. So it's very simple. Now I decided to work on this. And here we are. I'm progressing. And if I'm keeping up this pace, I will have to change yarn before the end of this stream. Sarah says she usually just craft at home by herself. But it's nice though if you can like be a few together. So the thing I like with groups, if possible, or even here, because see, I'm not perfect by any means. I've been crocheting, been back into crocheting. That's more proper to say. About 2.5 years. I know it's scary, right? And there are still things that I sometimes have to grasp about. I do have the luck. I can call my mom. She doesn't know the answer to anything, though, but everything. She does know the answer to a lot, but not to everything. But being in a group of people, or even here on YouTube, you know, the fact that you can ask the community for help if there's something you don't understand. So, from what I understand, on row 8 on the die-yielding T-shawl, you get stuck because you make the same mistakes. Now I'm then curious what mistakes you're making, of course, because I don't remember. I think I only frocked that shawl once. I think I went that pretty straight through, where the Jasmine T-shawl I had to frock like maybe twice or thrice. But once understanding it, it's simple. As my experience. But I guess that same goes for drops, right? Like, don't always give the best descriptions. Sometimes there's a little bit of a guesswork. So that's why I'm thinking. So I'm not completely decided. So I want to design this pattern. And what I can do, so I'm first going to see if I can design the bag, because I have this great idea in mind. If it's physically good, that's a question. But if I could then maybe make a poll to see how and what. Ideas there. Sarah, you're just now discovering the whole YouTube yarn community. Always thought it was just music and how-to-dos. I have a whole positive side of life online. It's amazing. There's so much inspiration. I personally love the YouTube yarn community. It's a lot different than what I had imagined. Because I also thought in the beginning it was just like how-to videos or music. YouTube is so turned out to be so much different, or just shorts doing random stuff, right? But YouTube have shown and proven to be so much more. Um, just like, having these lives. I do admit, um, and this is also something I've talked with other people about, that so I have two slash almost three types of content. Like, so the good thing about tutorials are that they are like long form content, and they also long term, because a tutorial is good both today, but it's also good in a year. Where when I'm doing these lives, not everybody likes to rewatch a live. By the way, if you're rewatching my live right now, or hearing this, thank you so much. I very much appreciate you for rewatching my live. Um, but rewatching lives is not something people do as easily or quickly as watching, let's say, a yarn haul video or a tutorial. Or because if you're watching a tutorial, the likelihood is that you're watching it. There are two options. You're watching it because you want to support the creator, but you might already know how to do it. But it could also be that, which is a more likely reason for you to watch a tutorial, is that you want to learn how to either crochet a specific pattern or a specific stitch, etc., right? So that's like the help resources. And that's where we kind of get into the fact that I want to make sure that all of my tutorials are also left-handed. Because right now I do crochet right hand. I could probably crochet left hand here as well, but it will take me more time and energy. It definitely will. Diane says she also usually crafts by herself. She does have, is a group of Dita's crocheters that meets every Tuesday evening. Unfortunately, you're usually out of town on Tuesdays, though you're able to take your project with, you always take a project with you everywhere. Ah, yeah, yeah. Oh, but that's kind of sad that, when you happen to be out of town, it's the evening when they have their crochet slash knitting club going on. That sucks when things doesn't fit in time schedule wise. For example, every Tuesday morning now, from now on, I will have something else to do. I will basically head to the club and do some practice, because Tuesday mornings is when all the people that's retired go and train and have fun and get a cup of coffee. I just do it because I now have the opportunity to do so, because I'm not working, right? I'm on a very long vacation, and still don't know how and what not. Good friend of mine is trying to put a good word in a few places, which would be awesome. And if it's not happening, I need to find other options. Also checked with the unemployment agency. I can first apply for that in like 2 weeks' time. Ah, oh, wonderful. Yeah, I guess it's a bit different. So Jan enjoys to watching replays of lives while crocheting with the company. Yeah, I guess it's like just what I said, it's like having your little crochet club, right? Um, Even if it's physically there with you or not. That's how I feel when I'm going live and crocheting at the same time. Right now, I am with my little crochet club. It's just not anywhere close to where I live, but I am. So we are not that far. We are only having this much to go on this row. And then I need to deep dive into the pattern and see what's next. 1, 2, and double crochet, chain 2, double crochet in that past stitch, skip 2, double crochet, and it's all the stitches, double crochet stitches, are placed in the back loop of the previous row. That's of course to help put in some structure, feeling, lining, variation to the pattern. So that is what we keep doing. Chain 2. So we are at a place where it almost takes an hour to complete a row for me. Jesus. I remember when I made the tutorial for the leafy shawl. Then when I was about to start the last row, where the pickets are, I realized I'd made a mistake almost in the beginning of the row previously before, because I'd forgotten to add a chain of 3 almost at the start of that row. So I had to frog the whole row, and back then it was like also at least a good hour and a half to complete a whole row. That sucked. Like, really. That really sucked. So when I frog or have to frog, I always hope it's just a few stitches I need to frog when I catch it early. Generally, I'd rather not frog. I guess that's why I tend to also look at my work. I don't know if I could without looking. Maybe I could if it's not just the back loops. That would be a bit depending. So are you the type that prefer a video tutorial, or do you prefer a written tutorial? I'm curious. For me, it depends. I can do both. If I'm on the go, I do prefer with written one, because a written one, it's easier just to pick up and read. If it's a video one, then you're kind of reliable on having the internet unless you save the video somewhere. And not always you have the opportunity to listen to it. So I'm the written type of person. I prefer written, but I can do videos. Like I have hand colored yarn, merino yarn, and I want to make one of Bagger Day's hats from it. I found the perfect pattern. She even made it on her own, in the sense of made it with the same yarn. So I think that could be really nice. Just probably a different colorway. So I really want to make that. And she barely writes them down, or I'm not sure if it's a part of a written bundle. So I'm just gonna probably listen to it. That's what I'm thinking right now. So that's not something I'm going to be making on the go. Jan says both. She watched the video to get a through to get an understanding of the pattern, and I guess being able to bring the pattern along is just nice. Just not all patterns come with a video tutorial. 1, 2, 3. Sarah says she prefers a video tutorial. Have a really hard time focusing to read patterns and really focus. That way she can go back and see exactly what they're doing if she don't understand it. That's true. That's true, and that can also sometimes be a benefit. That if you can't describe how to do something well enough by writing, sometimes it is just easier to see visually, right? So you're more of a visual person, I would say. I guess I can relate because if you give me a physical address like a name and a house number, I can write it down. But that doesn't mean that I will remember it. But if I've been one place once, I can usually, especially if I was driving or sitting next to the driver, find back based on what I visually see because I'm a quite visual person. Jan says she watches video tutorials that doesn't have written patterns and do her very best to write them out herself. Yeah, I think I've done that too, actually. I just don't remember what pattern, but I've definitely done something similar, being like writing down what the purpose was or how the pattern was. Meanwhile, we are almost done with this row. I don't have that many stitches left. 30 maybe? Maybe less? I don't know. Like this? There's lots of stitches though. Yarn is decreasing also. Skip 2, insert double, chain 2. So both have their benefits. Could do both. Also like the idea of maybe making some key rings or something like that. No. Simple for everyone, right? That could be really nice too. Good scrap yarn project even. We are getting closer to a turn, and I will have to see what the pattern says. Think I'm probably more or less good. Let me see. Just a moment, and I'll catch up and chat in a bit. Do have the feeling I am missing a stitch though. maybe. Like that. Hallelujah. Row complete. Row complete. This is where we are at now. Can barely be in the screen of the webcam. The webcam is also slightly narrower compared to the camera I use to record like my yarn talks and hauls and so on with. Jan says she goes back and watches the video again if she can't understand the pattern that she written down. Makes really good sense. Makes really good sense. Let's see if I can actually, if we have something I can do with this. I could. Thank you. I'm just going to pop over here because I have the pattern here. So this is kind of the information on it. And as you can see, mine definitely needs some blocking. And the row I am at is, I just did this row here between 3 and 4, and now I have to go to 4, which is these long lines with a circle on top. And I know because it says 4, I need to increase. So I go back up. First I find out what it is. This is 1 double crochet around chain stitch or in chain space. Okay. So basically that is fans or crochets in those. And now I need to read 4 as to description of how to increase. It says here, increase 2 double crochets on each side of the marker by working 1 extra double crochet around each of those 2 chain spaces before and after the marker. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to have 396 double crochet stitches. Hallelujah. Quite a bit still to go. Okay, that seems simple enough. Then we go back. So we start by chaining, and then we start by working around. Then where I need to increase, instead of working in 3, I need to add 4 double crochets. And the marker is slightly like in between here, in between the stitches. That makes good sense. So that will be here. Okay, yeah, I'm on it. I understand. So we can pop back, and you can see my nice head again. So that's kind of so a good reason for having my piece in front of me, not just because I'm streaming from it, but because the pattern is on it. So sometimes that's really handy dandy. That's also what I do when I'm working on like my mosaic blanket. I have the pattern on my big screen. Right, I just had to flip over to it, but I thought it was nicer for you to see how I actually think when I'm reading these patterns. Now you know a little bit on how I approach it. So we are going to chain, like, what did I do before? Chain 2, 3. Usually it's chain 3 for a double crochet. Flip around, and each of them was 3 double crochets around the space. Well, I can do that. That's easy enough. 1, 2, 3. And then you skip and jump into the next space where you do 1, 2, 3. And that's we are going to do until I need to increase. And that's going to be 4 instead of 3. Actually, it's not that difficult, but of course it's easy to say for me when I'm able to read them. Because Jen says here that she wished she could master to read those darn diagrams. They're intimidating, and for some reason, drops have a tendency of writing lots. But they do have a description for what each stitch is, so I guess it's just once you get the hang of them, it's not that difficult. But of course, until you get a hang of them, it can be challenging. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Next space, another 3 around. No, so this is going to be an easy row and a quicker row because I don't need to fiddle to get the back loop or the front loop of whatever stitch in the row before. I like 1, 2, 3. My pace just picked up tremendously. So what I actually should do is I should probably time to move this marker up when we get there, because I'm really good at looking at it far, far away. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So let's see. In the next, I need to increase. So that's 4 and not 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Honestly, I'd rather have diagrams than written it out, because sometimes when written out, it's more difficult to understand for me. That 100% of course depends on the creator. So that was one side, and then the next one I need to do another 4, because then I increased on both sides of that stitch marker. And what I should do is I should actually move that stitch marker up, because it just makes my life so much easier. So I think that is what I'm going to do before I'm progressing with all these. So what I have right now is the stitch marker sits down here, and up here I just did the increase. So to kind of help myself, I'm actually going to move those stitch markers a little bit closer to where they are needed. It's been working fine, but I'm slowly getting to a place where it's just nice to actually have them a bit closer. So that is what I'm doing. I'm just moving them all a few rows closer to the action, if that makes sense. It's been working for the first couple of rounds easy because it's not been that far away. But as we get further away, it does take a little bit more effort to keep track of them. So I'm just moving around all these stitch markers. I have, if I remember right, like 12 or 14 telling me where to increase. That's also listed in the pattern. Doo -doo -doo -doo. That's probably closer. I think it's also a bit of an approximate location for these, because it's circular, so it's not pointy, and therefore the shape remains circular, so you don't have the center completely in the same way as you do with some other shawls, if that makes sense. We're getting there. This, my friends, will make it quicker for me to do a bunch of double crochets around the chain, which is like almost the quickest stitch to do. So I'm quite sure this following round for me will be a Speedy Gonzales. It belongs here. Just have one stitch marker left to move. That should go up there. Ta-ta. Stitch markers moved. I am ready to encounter all the double crochets, but what I can say is I'm quite sure this yarn won't last me through all of these double crochets. I believe I am going to change yarn before the end of this round. So it's bunch of 3 times double crochet, and when I get to stitch marker in the chain space just before the stitch marker, instead of entering 3 double crochets, I enter 4, and just after the stitch marker I also enter 4, and then it's back on 3 in each of the spaces until you get to the next stitch marker. It's actually quite simple. Easy peasy, nice and breezy. If it goes this quickly, I might be able to finish this row during this live. Because this goes, trust me, so much quicker than the previous row. Mainly because it's less fiddly. But we all have those in the patterns. Experience them, if they're fiddly or not. The yarn I'm using is the Throughts Alpaca mix yarns. If you give me 5 more double crochets, I'll show it to you. Because then I can make an easy break. So I'm just inserting a stitch marker because I would hate if it starts running. So obviously that's the yarn I have left, but the yarn I am using is this alpaca yarn from Throughts Alpaca Mix. The all-time favorite, says Button. Sweet little alpaca logo, yay! It's 100% alpaca yarn, nice and soft. It is 1.75 ounce skeins, so 50 grams. And they are 167 meters long, so 183 yards. It's a fine weight, lace weight, sport weight, 2 weight, 1/2 weight yarn. So it's a thin yarn, it takes forever to get through. I have 3 more skeins, so like this and 2 more skeins laying in my crate. The pattern said I needed 5 skeins. I'm not sure if I'm going to need all 5. Because if you look at this and you look at this hole, this has been like, including what, this is my second skein I'm working on here, to give you an idea. And it's lovely feeling. It is their mix because of this. It's a bit heathered. I'm not sure if my webcam want to catch up on that. I think it does a bit. As you can see, it has like heathered, kinda like hay color go through, and it is the colorway 7238, and I do believe they call it Olive on Drop's website. And this alpaca is also made. It's made in Peru, so it's a Peruvian yarn. It says here in very small lettering. I'm not sure if the webcam want to focus, but right there it says made in Peru, and it's gorgeous. It's really lovely. I have to give them that. It's a gorgeous, lovely yarn. That is why once I need to block this project, I need to have some woolen detergent to wash it in. That makes sense. So I stopped where I had to do my next increase. So what I'm gonna do is very easy, simple. Instead of 3 double crochets, I'll be working in 4 double crochets because that is what this nice pattern told me to do. So 1, 2, 3, and increase. And in the following space, just on the other side of the stitch marker, I also need to work in a 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we have a bunch of spaces to work in 3. And it's a step-by-step progress. So Drops makes lots of nice yarns. They also have a bunch of nice cotton yarns or cotton mix yarns. Like they have a merino cotton mix, which I think is absolutely wonderful. And I can imagine it being great for garments for like children and so on, or even just us humans. um, Definitely. But it's a really gorgeous yarn. I do enjoy work with it. Do, do, do. 3. And yes, this row is definitely, I feel it now already so much quicker than the previous. We need more of these. That is, if I can keep the yarn on my needle or hook. Sometimes it goes just too quick. Do, 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 do. It is a wonderful day. The sun is shining again here. So this is your classic autumn weather. Rain, wind, shines, wind, rain, wind, shines. So I have one more 3 double crochets and then I need to increase again. That is where we are at. I also have a cowl planned with this alpaca yarn, but that's more in a solid color for a future project. And that is a yarn I'm going to hold double with some, I do believe it's kid silk, which is like a mohair type yarn. But that is not something I'm going to do anytime soon, because I do have some other drops projects I preferably think I'd like to do first. I've also been thinking of what I could do. Could also do reviews, I guess, of the dropped yarns. That would also be possible. I do believe they can easily be bought in the US as well, but you might need more specialized stores, not like Joann's or Michael's, etc., but more like smaller yarn stores. Jan says it's sunny in Michigan, but it's just 6 degrees. Yes, that is chill. Let's see if I can actually. I haven't seen Nightbot at all in this live. I think Nightbot is failing on me. Let's see if we can summon Nightbot by asking Nightbot to tell us about the weather here, where I am. But Nightbot seems to be not in the mood to work with us. The other night I had, no Nightbot at all. I don't know where Nightbot is. That's weird. Nightbot isn't there. Don't know why Nightbot isn't there. Usually it is. Usually it is, but It's not really registering right now. That's odd. It's barely registering us being live. That's what it is. Too bad. But it's like, let's see, I can get it to you in like, it says 14 degrees, or that would be equal to 55-ish Fahrenheit. So it's not super cold, but you know, my body already tells it's cold because it's not 20 degrees plus. Yes, Nightbot is apparently on siesta. Nightbot registered the first 2 messages posted on this live, and then it just went to sleep. Because according to Nightbot, nothing has been posted since the last hour plus, which is definitely not true. So I guess Nightbot isn't working today. Nightbot has vacation. Nightbot has vacation. Fair enough. That doesn't hold us back from crocheting, does it? No, it does not. So I need to do Nightbot's messages being like, if you like this live, do not forget to hit a thumbs up on the buttons here. Thank you so much. And subscribe if you do like what you're seeing and listening to. Blah, 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 blah. Don't forget to hydrate. If you haven't had anything to drink while you've been watching this live, I do recommend you to grab something to drink. There you go. Help Nightbot doing his job. It's raining yarn. Hello, welcome to this live. It is afternoon here in the Netherlands. It is 3:37 p.m. I am having a good tea. The tea today is, as always, my favorite mug of tea. Different teas, but today it is it's called Chinese Spring. It's an Earl Grey with basically some rose flowers. So it's like an Earl Grey with a flowery taste. I am working on the Thoughts of Ireland shawl. I linked to the pattern in the description box down below. And to be more clear is that here we are. I am at the red stitch marker, which means that I'm about to increase again. Blue stitch markers are where I'm increasing. What I am doing is I'm basically right now just working a bunch of double crochets. I do the double crochets in these spaces. In each space I do 3 double crochets with the exception for where to increase. Where I increase, I do 4 double crochets on each side of the stitch marker. So I hope that helped a bit. I am working with the most amazing, gorgeous alpaca yarn here, Throughts Alpaca. And I'll need to change yarn soon. I'm not sure if I will manage to do all this row with this yarn left. I actually quite almost feel I do need to change before end of this row. It is nice to see you though. So, all of curiosity, I do not know where you're from, so I'm going to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It just feels wrong if it's in the middle of night to say good night, because usually that means that one is heading to bed, but that's not necessarily always the case. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that was 1 increase, and on this other side, so It's Raining Yarn is also in Michigan. Oh, that's kind of cool that you're both in Michigan. World is small, huh? The world is small. The other week, when I had my live, we had a Swede coming in, and Amanda was also here, and Rita was also here, and all suddenly we had like three Swedes in the room at the same time. And well, Sweden is a lot smaller than America, so it was kind of surprising we suddenly had all these Swedes in here, which made me kind of all jealous because, they live close to one another. So they can go and visit one another and have a little crochet, small talk, afternoon, fun along. For me, that would be a bit of a drive. On the other hand, I spoke with my mom earlier this week, and she told me that she had found lots of small yarn stores not too far from home. So I'm like, maybe if I go home in the spring, I indeed still don't have a job, I need to do some sort of small yarn tour visiting all these small yarn stores in Denmark. I kind of like that idea. I'll just have to contact the yarn stores in here first if they are okay with me coming along to do it, right? Because that would be kind of cool. Challenges often when recording things like this, that's I tend to do voiceovers of my yarn store visits because often they're playing some sort of music or something like that in the background, and if that's copyrighted, then YouTube will like hit my nose and say that I either can't use it or that they won't give my fair share of any ads, etc. So I usually just tend to voice them over because that's just so much easier. Then I don't get any issues with any copyright musics. But I kind of like the idea of visiting stores. I definitely do. Time to increase again. So instead of doing 3 double crochets, we do 4 double crochets in that space. 2, 3, 4. And we go to the next space where we also enter 4 double crochets. And then we progress by 3 double crochets in each space. Yep, 4. Da-da-dum. So it's just a bunch of double crochets. It's very straightforward what I'm doing right now. It's not demanding too much thinking power, so to say, which is positive. So that is where we are at. Another 2 and 3. And the yarn keeps decreasing here. Gets less and less and less. It is a woolen yarn. I do enjoy various types of yarns and to work with them. Everything depends. I also have a cowl I want to make, and that's in the hobby kind feather yarn, so that's 100% acrylic, which I really want to make as well within a reasonable future. Maybe that's gonna be the next project. So what I am gonna start on, I'm gonna start on a headband. I am going to start on a new bag just to have something for in the car. And then once one of these shawls are done, I'm going to start on the Aranel shawl and also a alpaca yarn. Then after that, I could probably do that cowl. I think it looks really, really nice on the image. It's called the Denver cowl. But what kind of terrifies me a bit is I think it is a heck ton of bubble stitches. And I'm not really a big bubble stitch fan because they take forever to make. This, by the way, is really nice and warm. I'm not sweaty or anything like that. It's just comfy warm. Dressed myself well today. And this alpaca In-Lines Poncho. And it does look like ribbing, but it is just alternate front post, back post, double crochets. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. I need to increase, so I need to do 4. Easy. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then on the other side of the chain marker, not chain marker, stitch marker, do another 4. And then we are back to doing a bunch of 3s. 1, 2, 3. We missed one more. That would be the increase. And then we are back to doing in each chain space 3 double crochets until we get to the next stitch marker. And we're getting closer to being halfway, and we definitely need to change yarn before we get there. I can see that now. That's pretty definite. 1, 2, 3. Meanwhile, I hope that Sarah's ribbing is progressing nicely along. She said she had to do 193 rows of ribbing, though luckily they were only 8 stitches. Not 8, sorry, 11 stitches. 11 stitches, but 193 rows. That's still a lot of ribbing. But you should have progressed nicely meanwhile, Sarah. Based on my theory. If I manage to finish this row, then I've done more than 700 stitches while we've been chatting. That's worth to think about, even more. Oh no, you lost count. But I'm sure you can like easily count how far you got. Or do you just have like a specific length it has to be? Like you can measure it? That's kind of what I do when I make headbands or something like that. Let's see. One more of 3. Then we time to increase again. As I said, it goes really swift, these just plain double crochets in the chain spaces. Love them. Or should I say I love this place of the pattern. Because it's so straightforward. 2, 3, 4. Jump past the stitch marker and work in 4 more in the next space. 1, 2, 3, 4. Goes by number of stitches. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, especially if you make 2 sides that has to be crocheted together. They need to be the same amount of stitches long or rows long, because else you are not having an identical sized project. This is where if I would watch a channel, if I just sit and crochet and don't go live, just crochet, then either if it's live, I would mute them temporarily for 5 minutes to count, or pause it if it's like something I'm rewatching or it's just a general video, because then I'm sure I don't lose count while counting. So I definitely won't blame you if you mute me for 2 minutes to get your rows counted. Meanwhile, I'm just progressing with all these double crochets. We're getting there. Not much yarn left. And we still have this left. So I can tell you for sure that I have to break into the next skein of yarn very soon. Kind of predictable though. And 3. 1, 2, and 3. And now I already need to increase again. That is how quick it's going for me right now. I had not expected that. Just to compare, this row is probably twice as fast as the previous row. Just because, and the previous row wasn't too slow either, but it was this fiddling of catching those back loops and counting stitches for where to insert the next and so on. Where this one is basically just chain space and then add X double crochets into that chain space. And then next chain space, work in double crochets, next chain space. So it's not, you don't need to catch stitches, you just need to crochet around the chain. So easy. I guess I got tired of looking for stitches, or loops, I should say. I have like 2 or 3 meters of yarn left. That's definitely not going to cut it to the end of this row. That I can say already. Do, do, do. We are getting closer and closer and closer. 1, 2, and 3. I have about 2 arms lengths left of yarn, and I still have that much to go. So I can guarantee already that we need to break on the next game in very few. But I will also have to say, I had thought I had to do it earlier in this row. So you do get quite some yardage for your yarn, or it is longer than you think it is. Which might be because it's thin. Which might be because it's thin. Well, that's okay. And we need to increase again, so we do another 4 double crochets. The downside is, like, I know people have asked me if I can do drops pattern tutorials, but they have a really clear section on the website saying that the patterns are free to use, etc., but you're not allowed to replicate them in any digital form. And a tutorial is also kind of digital, so I am not going to breach their copyrights. That would be plainly rude. 2, 3. Can I do a few more? 1, 2. I should probably change on now. One moment, please. Hella says she sent me a message with a photo showcasing all of the local yarn stores. Now I just need to see. This looks like it's coming from inside of the skein. Labels of the yarn. New yarn being broken out. And I only have this much left. And we have this much still to go. Let's see. I can do one more stitch. Yes. And then in the next, we definitely need to break up this new friend of yarn. Now I just need to keep track of the yarn. So what I tend to do is I tend to make a little knot on those two yarn ends, to make sure that they don't pop loose, because I am first gonna weave them in later, like once I know that I don't have to frog it, that point. Because that would really suck. And the reason for that is that when I weave in ends, I tend to do it so well that you do not want to attempt to unfrog those places where I've woven in the ends. So I do it very well. So to make sure that I don't get any issues later on, it's always better to make, a full round or two past and then weave in the ends. At least, unless I'm 100% sure it's good what I'm doing and I don't need to be concerned about frogging. But as I said, this is the first time ever I make this pattern, so I could still risk frogging. And we are just doing a bunch of more double crochets here. Need to increase again, and I have 3 more increases left, so to say, or 3 more stitch markers left. So it's 6 times of increases, because I increase on each side of the stitch marker by 1. But as we talked about earlier, right now it is still a reasonably easy place in the whole pattern to do it. So that's nice. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I am curious. Yeah, there's a few. There's like 6 within reasonable distance. 6 yarn stores. But it would make most sense to basically contact them before coming, because it could also be that they don't find it's a really good idea. Though, it would kind of be stupid of them to say no. Because when you visit places like that, you also give them free advertisement, right? Like, if anytime I do a yarn haul, or anytime I visit a store, they do get advertisement from me, technically, for free. That's created an awareness with possible consumers. So one, two, three, 1, 2, 3, and we do one more. As I said, this goes really quickly, this side. I've done this in like 45 minutes, maybe, compared to the one. So it's like half time. Definitely half time. I have a feeling the next section of the pattern probably wouldn't be so quick, but I'm actually not going to do that now. I don't think so. So I need to increase again. So instead of the 3 double crochets in the chain space, we work in a 4. And I really think like an overhead view of the working station here would be nice for you guys. Have to consider how I can do that best possible. Have an idea. But if it would work in reality, would have to come to a test. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, and a bunch of 3s. Until the very last stitch marker, where I can increase again on each side. And then, my friends, we are complete with this round. It does say how many stitches I should have, but I'm not really sure if I dare count them in the fear I missed one. Because I would really hate having to frog this work. Like, that would be really sad. That would be so sad. No, 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 no. It's perfect. I know it is. It works. I did it correct first time. Trying to convince myself this at least. Let's see. Yes, it's increasing time. As you can see, very little left here. Very little left. So we do the 4 double crochets in the space. That was 3 and 4. And then on the other side of the stitch marker, we also do 4 double crochets. And 4. Then we do some 3s. And then we're pretty much done with this row. Hallelujah. And I can say that I worked some more on this shawl today. I'm not home tonight because we have an ongoing event, and because the Ultimate Sacrifice shawl is reasonably simple to work on, at least I'm a place where it is, that is the shawl that I'm bringing with me. So this has to wait for another good day. To be progressed on. And then I just need to finish with a double crochet somewhere in a top part of a chain stitch. But oh my goodness, this yarn can be splitty. There we are. So, done! Ching ching! Oh, it just doesn't want to be all shown because the camera doesn't show as much. But this is where we are after today. And you can see where I changed yarn, which is going to be there, at least for another row or two. And then I will weave in those tails. So I don't forget it, but they're kind of obvious that they're there. I only made slightly little knots that I can easily untangle. Right now it's more just to keep track of the yarn. I made a little bow tie on it after the knot. But yeah, that is what we made today. We added 2 more rows of the Thoughts of Ireland shawl. Pretty sweet. Just for the fun thoughts, what are we gonna do after? Bows with crosses. That's like single crochets, I think. Let's pop over and share, shall we? What's next? So here we are in the pattern. And I just finished here where you have 4 with an arrow towards these. That's those I just finished, all those double crochets. So the next row I have to do is these crosses with the funky bows on top. So to do that, start that row is usually that's a chain 1 or a chain 2. And then we will have to check what these are. What are these crosses and what are these funky ones? So we go up to see the description here. The crosses are from the right side, single crochet in back loop stitch, from wrong side, single crochet in the front loop stitch. So we are back into keeping track of what loops I need to crochet in. Okay. And the funky loops are up here, and that's 3 chain stitches. So in theory, it could be a really quick one. So next row is, and I'm not going to do that today because I do need to do a few other things before and not so soon. But I would have to start the row with 1 single crochet, and then in the first of those 3 strands from the last round, and now I just need to look because again that would then depend on the side you're on. We are working from this side. I have to work back loops. So what I do is I would chain 1, and then I would work in a single crochet in the stitch of that fan of that double crochet. Work in a single crochet in the back loop. Then I would chain 3 and work in a single crochet in the next stitch. But I wonder if this is supposed to be between stitches when looking like that. Has to be. But then you can't work in the back loop, so it has to be the first. And then you skip 3 and work it into the next. Else it's not going to work out. That's not very well signed, I would say. Ideally, I would just work in a single crochet around those spaces. That would be much more easy. But that's not going to make sense, is it? Yeah, so that's going to be work in the back loop, skip 2, basically. Work in the back loop, skip 2, work in the back loop, skip 2, work in the back loop, etc. Yep, that is how it's going to progress from here on. Whoa. Bits to keep track on here. But yes, it's lovely, and I love it how it's worked up. And it's generally it's really like nice and soft. Um, but I'm not gonna work on this more today because else I will not get my other appointments done in time or other obligations of life done in time. So we are, I'm afraid, about to end this live simply because I have things to do next to crochet. Um, but I very much appreciate the time you guys spent with me today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a bit wiser. Um, and I'm going to wish you all a great day and happy crafting until I'm going to see you again, which is going to be tomorrow in my weekly yarn talk video. And then, as said, we do have a yarn haul coming up on Monday. It's just a small yarn haul. And then next week, I'm probably going to pop live a few times more, at least from predictable is what I plan on. Not sure if I will do my morning ones because they aren't always super popular. So I would have to see on that. Could be. Um, it's a little bit of depending. I am keen on doing them, but it has to fit in my agenda. So I probably should get a more regular streaming schedule. But it also kind of depends. There's so many things that's still unknown for me coming up because I don't know how everything is going to be looking from November after doing all of the unemployment stuff. Yay. Carrie the Yarny Elephant, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm kind of sad because we're kind of slowly checking out here. I just finished working 2 rows into my Thoughts of Ireland shawl. I kind of folded it up, but I will fold it out for you because you just popped in, so it seems so rude not to just at least show to you what we've been working on. So the Thoughts of Ireland shawl here. Just finished 2 rows working on that. We just changed yarn as well, working with this absolutely gorgeous alpaca yarn. It's the Drops Alpaca. I do have the yarn label. Drops Alpaca. Ooh, here it is. Mix. 100% alpaca yarn. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Oh, we have more people in here. Hello, Jetten. Jet1N. Jetten. Jeton? It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I really, really love this yarn. And now I almost feel like continuing. I do feel like continuing. But the problem is that I'm going to stress later with other things I'm going to do. The next rows are a bunch of single crochets and chains. And I need to calculate how that's going to work out because somehow it's... Yeah, no, it's not going to match towards the end. I'll be a stitch short somehow. Or it could just be of the turning chain. That's, I guess, all right. You got it, Chetan. Or you can call me Carrie or Little Carrie. I don't know. Okay. I'll try to remember. I'm usually best with like faces. Names is something I'm being teaching myself to remember. So we have Carrie the Yarny Elephant and Carrie. And Carrie. Yes. Lovely to see you, ladies. It is 4:14 p.m. here in Central Europe. I am in the Netherlands, if you aren't aware. And we have just discussed what are the next steps here. This is a pattern I'm working on. I'm going to scroll all the way up to the top. And this is the pattern, the Thoughts of Ireland. I've also linked to this pattern in the description box down below of this live, should you want to do it yourself. It is made in the Drops Alpaca yarn from Garn Studio or from Drops. Yarn Group A is basically a super fine 1A 2-weight yarn, sports weight yarn. And yeah, that's basically what I am working on, this lovely, lovely shawl. And I have reached the row just above 4. So I can't even sign on it, but I'm trying to see if the arrow will show you here. Yeah, it does approximately. So that is basically what I am working on. Okay, so Carrie the young elephant would be big Carrie, and little Carrie is a carry jeton. Okay, I'll try to keep you two ladies kept apart. I'm almost wanting to say maybe I should start the next row, but I really shouldn't. I could squeeze it maybe. 10 more minutes. I guess everybody when in a good mood and progressing really well on their projects are just trying to squeeze out just a few more minutes, right? I could do as well. But then I really have to get moving. Like 10 more minutes. I could. Yeah, so the benefit is then I just got started. That's not bad. Maybe I should. So I need to chain 1. Ladies, I am going to do it. And hopefully I won't regret. But I only have another 15 minutes and then I will have to leave. Okay, so I chained 1 and then I need to make, because that's all in the back loop, which means I will need to work these in the back loop too. Then I need to work in the last double crochet of the previous round, I need to work in a single crochet. That's easy. I need to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I need to work in a single crochet in the next back loop, which would then be like skip 2 stitches and the next. Yeah, of course, because eventually I increase, then maybe it's not gonna be too bad. So basically every 2 stitches I skip. But then here it shows no increases. Do we have a description in the pattern somewhere? Give me a moment to read. Work the remaining rows as shown in diagrams. Oh, wonderful. That was definitely not very descriptive. Because this diagram doesn't really clearly show when. It's basically saying working in those between. But if I work them in between, it's not in the back loop because there's no back loop in between. Okay, so I'll just do them in each of the first ones, and that's how it's gonna be from here on. Single crochet. That feels so odd. 1, 2, 3 chains. Then we have to find the next and work in 1, 2, 3, and then find the next beginning. Well, I can do this. That's okay. 1, 2, 3. The only difference is here, of course, we are skipping quite a few more stitches. Well, we skip an extra, but that's the only way I can make this work. That makes no other sense otherwise. 1, 2, 3. I have the feeling that the Yarny Elephant Carrie and Jetson, you guys, you hang along together somehow. Or you're just often watching the same lives. That could also be that you often end up in the same chats since you call one another Little and Big Carrie. And this is just me pure guessing. I am sorry if I put you into a box. That was not my intention. 1, 2, 3. This is going pretty well, actually. I wonder what's the following row then is. Oh, yay. I feel bubble stitches coming. I don't like bubble stitches. Yeah, work bubble around chain space. Okay, fair enough. That makes sense. I can do this. I can do this. Carrie the Yanni Elephant says that her and Jetten, we know each other. She stalks me, lol, just kidding. But that's kind of nice. It's always cool when you know people. Yarn community is a small place, even on YouTube. 2, 3. Even on YouTube, it is a small community. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This had just made so much more sense. Working these around. I don't know what this designer had in mind. Of course, I could always adapt, but now I'm just following the pattern because it seems to be the most logic thing to do. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm glad you caught me live. I need to be better at scheduling my lives, but until I have a more clear view of how it's going to go with the unemployment agency next month, it's a bit difficult for me to actually schedule. Well, I can schedule them, but the thing is, that might just be until the end of the month, so to say, because November is definitely going to be different. It's definitely going to be different. 1, 2, 3. I hate these back loop projects. Jesus. 1, 2, 3. I'm trying to get a decent grip on these, but another 5 minutes, and then I will definitely have to call it. And the next row is gonna be pain in my rear because it's a row of bubble stitches in each of those spaces I'm making right now. That's going to be a lot of chain spaces to go bubble crochets in. 2, 3. I need to read their description on how they do that bubble because I think they're actually crocheting multiple together. I'll have to read up on it. 1, 2, 3. And I think this had been nicer to actually do the single crochets between those, but well, I did not design this pattern. 2, 3. I did not design this pattern. No, I did not. I need to keep track of this yarn because this is where I increased, and I need to make sure I don't get tangled up in it. 1, 2, 3. Why is it that every time I find a pattern that I want to make, I don't read the pattern before I actually do it, and then there's always something in where I'm like, ugh, like too many bubble stitches is not fun. Have a love-hate relationship with them. They look nice, but they are a pain to do. 3. And there's 1. Yes, I am definitely going to have an amazing day for the rest of my day. It will contain some crochet actually, just not live because I will be at an event. And if there is nothing for me to do there, then I will bring my shawl with me, not this one, another shawl I'm working on, because at least then I can be productive on something if there is nothing else to do. That was at least my thought. So that is gonna be where we end. You can barely see this row because it's just a bunch of chains. And it curls. I need to, this shawl just so much needs blocking. It looks so much nicer when blocked, I'm sure. Right now it just curls up. And I think that's the yarn that's being used for it. That's the yarn. So that's my explanation of it. The only thing I worry if, well, I'll have to see. I think it's the same bubble stitch pattern as the other ones. So anyhow, we did reach to do a few, so I kind of got started on the next row, which I'm happy about. That still leaves me at 700 plus stitches done this afternoon. For now, I am going to wish you all a super amazing day ahead, or evening, afternoon, whatever you're heading into. I wish you lots of lovely, happy crafting moments. So yeah, I'm going to say happy crafting. Take care until I see you again. And when I'm seeing you again, is going to be in tomorrow morning's yarn talk video, where, well, I did record that a bit earlier today, so it has some time to get edited. So you will notice that Thoughts of Ireland has progressed since compared to. But generally, I'm going to say take care and happy crafting until I see you again, which is going to be in tomorrow's yarn talk video, and I will definitely go live at least once next week. Take care and happy crafting. Bye. And thank you for spending time with me and watching it, if you have all the way to the end.